Hello everyone. Today I'm going to continue talking about natural family planning, natural birth control. And today we have a couple who practices it and will share their experiences with us on natural family planning. A couple of days ago, I brought Casey, an NFP instructor, to introduce the topic. And I mentioned in that talk that according to studies, hormonal forms of birth control such as the pill, the patch, the injection, the IUD, and others put women at increased risk for breast cancer, cervical cancer, liver cancer, and a host of other conditions. The pill has been classified as a class 1 carcinogen, and there's really no secret. You guys can find this anywhere online. You can read the studies. I'll link below some information. I think it's a huge topic because these forms of birth control are causing a lot of harm to the health of women. And I want people to know that there is a natural alternative that is 99% effective. So I brought Joanna and Ricky. Hi! Thank you so much for coming to chat about this important topic.
Thanks for having me.
Can you tell us where you met and how long have you been married?
Go ahead.
We've been married 8 years now. 8 years now. But we met about 12 years ago. We're originally from Phoenix, Arizona. Actually, right now we're in Los Angeles. And we met at a little party that I was having at our apartment with me and my friend, and I met her there, and we talked, and she fell in love, and
it was the first sight for me.
For her, no, no, but it's
I don't know
fun.
about Ricky.
We joke about it because when I first met her and her friend were the first two girls to show up, so we wanted to talk to them. And so I don't know how it happened, but I ended up dancing with her friend first instead of her. But
which she was dating his friend.
Which I didn't know at the time. So
oh, wow.
How things work out. But,
yeah. So that's how we met. 12 years ago.
So interesting. So how did you learn about natural family planning, and why did you decide to start using it for your family?
What? I think when we first got together, I wasn't Catholic and Joanna was. And so it come from any faith experience or anything like that. And so, just being around her and her family was really my introduction to being a Christian. How do you live your faith? And so as our relationship kind of deepened over, it was probably after maybe 3 years at that time, that's when we really, I kind of came to her because I ended up coming into the church, was baptized and everything as an adult. And so that's when I kind of started getting deep into it and studying and listening to Catholic radio and all this kind of stuff.
Yes.
And that's where I heard about it. And I guess we kind of just started talking about it. Hey, have you ever heard about this? No? Okay, well, let's look into it. And
so first you heard it on the radio.
That's where I first heard about it.
And then, so he's that type of person that, I'm not a book reader. He loves books. I'm a video person. So he's always sending me links, to stuff. So he's like, check this out, So
Jady's video.
Yeah. So he heard it at the radio. Then he sends me the information. I was like, well, this is pretty interesting. And this was before we got married.
Right.
So that's when we kind of, started doing a little bit of research. And that's when we decided to just kind of be abstinence before marriage, So that was a big, that's how it all started for us. Then we got married and we're like, what are we going to do after this? What's going to happen? So I think it's, we laugh because it seems like God is always putting things in our way, So then we learned a little bit about it, like not like 100%.
Because we read the book, but, it's still, we believe that you have to take a class really to learn. And we can talk more about that maybe later. But I think we did end up taking a class later on, and how do you actually do it, and make sure you're charting right and all of that stuff. So all the details and nitty gritty.
But even before that, we went to a thrift store. I think we were like a year into our marriage. We still didn't have kids. We're thrift store lovers, so we went, and his first thing, he goes to the books, and he finds books for himself. He comes to me and he's like, oh, look what I found. It's meant to be. After hearing the radio show thing, like 6 months after that, and it was this huge book, like 3 or 4 inches,
big textbook
about natural family planning. We're like, okay, I think this is another sign that God wants us to really get into this. And so, like Ricky mentioned, that's when we started kind of reading the book, and we're like, whoa, this is too much, it's too much information. But it was still behind, our minds that we were interested. We started to be open-minded about it. And it seems that after that, God started calling us to research more. So we went online. And so we kind of just started doing it like, just like that. But then after we had our firstborn, we're like, okay, we really need to do more research.
Make sure we're doing it right.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you hear all this stuff, when you're breastfeeding, you don't get pregnant. You're like, that's not true. So many exceptions out there that they could be wrong just by comments and stuff. So we're like, we definitely need to research. And we had heard that you could do it while breastfeeding, and so we're like, oh, definitely need to get some classes. So then we researched and we found out that our parish, one of our close parishes, was giving classes. We're like, okay, we need to start doing the classes. So that's how we found out about NFP, and then we took the class.
And unfortunately, that's one of the things that we know is that in our experience, like, we didn't really have any marriage preparation at our church. They're just not very strict about it. They didn't really recommend us NFP or anything like that. And so now that's why we're real big advocates about it. And we try to, spread that message to other people, because we know a lot of people don't know about it.
They don't know about it at all. They don't know. They've never even heard of NFP.
Yeah.
I mean, natural family planning or NFP. A lot of people have never heard of it. Can you tell us what is NFP for those out there who have never heard of that word NFP? What does it mean? How would you guys explain it to another person?
The way I think of it is, it's basically you're using the body's natural, the way it's supposed to work, right? Because with like birth control and all of that, you're trying to change the way the body is supposed to work.
Yes.
Using a drug,
using a
fix
pill,
something that's not broken, right? So I just think with natural family planning, you're using the cycle, right? Every woman has a cycle where you're fertile and infertile. Like you're just becoming aware of when you're fertile and when you're not fertile. And so it's basically, for me, it just makes sense. Why go through all of this other stuff with pills and patches and injections and stuff? Like, it just gets weirder and weirder. I'm like, I cannot believe, people are going to put these devices in their body. It's like, all you have to do is know your cycle. It's not that complicated.
Exactly.
It's something that we always, we'll talk a little bit more about it. We do engage encounters, and we present, this topic to the couples. And we say, when you use birth control and all these different, other things, you put only the responsibility on only one person, and it shouldn't be like that, because we are a marriage, and it should be, a mutual thing. So what we love about NFP is that it's a constant, communication between the husband and the wife, and the wife and the husband. So I think that's another thing that's very positive about, NFP.
Right. I'm not expecting her to be taking her pills, and she's not expecting me to buy condoms. It's like we're communicating. Say, oh, well, are we fertile? Are we not fertile? I know when she is, when she's not. Like, that's the way it should be.
Yes, that's the beauty of it. So for those of you who have never heard of NFP, it's really simple. Like they said, it's basically just tracking your fertility to know when you're ovulating, when you're fertile. A woman is only fertile about 100 hours of cycle. I mean, a lot of people don't know this. And there's so many ways of tracking. You track your temperature, you track your cervical secretion. And like they said, we're going to go later on and talk about how you can learn more about this. But it is really easy. Once you learn how your body works, you're able to know exactly when you're fertile. So can you tell us how NFP has impacted your marriage?
I think for us, like, one of the things, we already mentioned kind of the communication aspect, which is important.
Yes.
But I think also we were talking about how it makes us look at sex differently.
Yes.
In the sense that, we have to have that conversation before we get into it,
It's not when you want it. And...
Right. It's not just like, oh, I'm in the mood. Let's do it. It's like, okay, well, if we do it, are we open to, what can come? If we were to get pregnant, are we open to that right now? And so it forces us to make those decisions, to have those conversations with that, which at times you don't want to. You want to just, you want the action and that's it. But but that's what marriage is about, right? Marriage is about, the way we believe, as Catholics, for us, sex is unitive and procreative. So unitive in the sense that it brings us together, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually. We have to be able to talk about things if we can't have a conversation, then we probably shouldn't be having sex, right?
Yes.
So, and that's one of the things that we've heard a lot is that a lot of people, it's kind of like that whole concept of like makeup sex, whereas like you're angry or you're fighting, and instead of dealing with that, you kind of just go into the bedroom and then everything's okay again, and you're not addressing whatever the issue was. And so I think with NFP, knowing that, there's nothing between us, which is another thing that I'll mention in a minute, but I think we have to be able to be open to each other in all ways, not just sexually, physically, but open to be able to say, babe, are we open to life right now? Is there any reason that we shouldn't be, or what should we, hold off because we can't have a baby because of this reason or whatever? And it allows us to make those conversations, which I think is a big deal,
Yeah, I think for myself, it will be the same thing. It has definitely increased our communication a lot.
Yes.
Because Ricky mentioned, sex is not just about having sex. Sex is more than that, And so it definitely, once you experience it, it's just an amazing, it's not just sex, it's more than that, And especially if you bring God into the sex part, it's such a different experience. So it has definitely, our life, life has really changed us a lot, in that aspect.
Yes.
And I think the other thing that I was going to mention is that the whole aspect of, I went blank. I forgot what I was going to say.
It's
okay. I'll come to you soon.
I'll come back.
I'm the pregnant one.
It's rubbing off on me.
Now, on that same note, you mentioned in one of your videos how NFP and the divorce rate. Can you talk a little bit about that? How I think the divorce rate for NFP, what is it? Less than
I've heard as low as 2%.
Yes, 2%.
But I mean, I've heard different rates. But yeah, I think that's, again, it goes back to what we were just saying about communication and things like that, because that's if you can't communicate, then obviously your marriage is probably headed in that direction, So I think that's part of the reason why when they say couples who are practicing this don't get divorces, because they're probably people of faith, people that are, centered in God, which is a big deal, and communication aspect. So I think with both of those things, you can't really go wrong.
And this is great because just to know that NFP, people that use NFP, couples that use NFP have a lower divorce rate, because half of all marriages in America are ending up in divorce now. It's like epidemic. It's terrible. It's sad. Kids are growing up without both parents. So just to know that you can have a deeper level of communication and intimacy with your partner is a great advantage to this method.
Yeah.
Right.
When the shocking thing, like we always say, like, especially when we do these, weekends with the couples, the percentage of people that know about it is just amazing. Like, not a lot of people know till this day. Like, goodness.
Well, even I remember after our first son was born, like the first thing the doctor asked you was like, "Oh, what kind of birth control are you going to be taking?"
That was the first thing.
Why is that so important to you? And so we do NFP, and she's like, "Oh, well, that doesn't work, right?" And it's just like
so negative
for the doctors to be like
terrible. I mean, just for the doctors to say that, it's sad
they
because
just want to put drugs, and it's like, we don't need that. We know what we're doing, we're very experienced now, after
or even like people that we tell, they're like, are you sure like that works? And we're just like, we've tried it for 5 years, like when we were planning the boys, we planned them when we, wanted to be abstinence and not conceive, so obviously it does work if you do it correctly.
Right.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people are just misinformed. I mean, there's something, I guess people are thinking of the calendar rhythm method, which is based on the calendar calculations. And this is not based on that. So people get confused when they hear NFP. They may think it's the calendar method. Instead, this method is like direct observations of signs that occur in a woman's body. So, cervical mucus, temperature. Exactly. Those are direct signs when a woman is ovulating. And there's a lot of scientific research done on this method. There's more than any other method. This method has been studied the most. And I will link below in the description box some studies that have been done on the method. So do you think it's a reliable method, and how long have you used it to plan your family? Can you tell us a little bit about how you've used it to plan your family and if you think it's a reliable method or not.
Definitely. I think for us, it's been, let's see, Joshua's just turned 5, so I guess just over 5 years. We've been using it, maybe 6 years.
Well, even before that, because we tried it right before we got married.
Like 6 years?
Yeah, like 7 years.
Yeah. But I think it's something that in the beginning, like once you learn it, you have to like really pay attention to every detail, and you want to make sure you know what you're doing and everything.
And you're scared, like anything, there's fear.
Because the consequences of getting things wrong are big, So, taking those classes, basically the advantage of taking the classes is they help you to make sure you're charting and right. All that stuff correctly.
So that's 3 months that you go.
Yeah, so the classes that we went to was 3 months, but you just go once a month. It's basically the first class they teach you how to do it, and then the next 3 months is kind of just going over the charts, making sure everything's done correctly, and revisiting some of those topics. But basically, I think for us, it was something that we've been practicing from the beginning of our marriage. We used it for all 3 of our children. So I think it was about 2 years after we got married that we got pregnant. So we just that was a big conversation for us too, because she didn't want to have children at the beginning. And I never wanted kids, but after we got married, I started feeling this call, like, I want to be a father, and she's like, no, I want to wait because I want to do my career and all of this. And so, again, back to that idea, that whole concept of communication.
I need a house, I need a car.
Yeah.
And have...
there was all these other things ahead of it on priorities and in her mind. And so it was a struggle for us because, she would kind of get, I don't know how I would explain it, but she would kind of get turned off by the discussion. She would just not want to talk about it anymore. And what really helped us is we went on a marriage encounter weekend, and that's where we were both able to write down our feelings about it. And
that's great.
Even after that, I explained to her what I felt. She explained to me what she felt. And even after that, we didn't say, okay, let's do it like right away. But we both kind of knew where we were at. We were on the same page. We were there to support each other, and it wasn't too long after that we did finally decide, okay, well, let's do this.
Ready.
And with the second one, same thing. The third one that's on the way right now,
Congrats.
Same thing. And because you go to the doctor and oh, well, when was your last menstrual period, and how do you know you're pregnant, or how long have you known you're pregnant?
I'm I could tell you
since the
moment.
You get to know your body very well.
Right.
And that's the beautiful thing that and this is the result of it, that it definitely works, especially we always talk about women's bodies are very different, every woman's cycle is very different. So that's the wonderful thing about NFP too, that as different bodies, you get to know your own body, and
yes.
and
wonderful.
That's the wonderful thing, that it can happen, and if you, like we talk about it, there's moments in our lives that sometimes we want to wait and we're not ready or so forth, whatever situation we are at, but let's wait. And when you do it, when you do the NFP right, it works the same way, and so, but definitely, we're excited, we planned this pregnancy, so we know it works.
That's great.
Like in the beginning, like I mentioned, it's a little bit more difficult, I guess, because you want to make sure you're getting everything right, and you're scared, like Glenna was saying.
Yes.
But now it's to the point where it's kind of it's just natural, she just knows, she knows her body, so it's not something that you have to be writing down every little thing anymore. She just knows.
She knows already. Yeah, she doesn't have to chart. You get to know your body, and you can use the method to prevent pregnancy or also to get pregnant, because once you get to know your body, if you want to get pregnant, this makes it so much easier. You'll know exactly when you are fertile.
Exactly.
That's the beauty about NFP, and it's just, so yes, definitely recommend it to those, we always say to
recommend it.
Newly couples, or couples that are engaged, start getting information out there, because a lot of these couples don't know what NFP is all about.
Yeah, and I think especially like she mentioned, we're very much involved with marriage preparation. So we deal with engaged couples that are getting ready to be married, and we see them and they're so in love and happy and ready to get married, thinking about kids yet. Yeah. And a lot of them are. And, it's funny because we'll put on these weekends, and we've been married 8 years, and we're still younger than most of these couples that are getting married. They're,
average is 30 right now.
Average is 30s. And we're married 8 years, and she's not even 30 yet. I just turned 32 this year. So we're younger than most of these couples that are just deciding to get married. And they're still afraid of kids and, how are kids going to, destroy our relationship?
It's terrible. The way that kids are viewed is sad. The way that kids are viewed in society today, people keep putting them off, and people. I mean, you have couples in their late 40s still, waiting. I guess.
Afraid, yeah. It's not. And I mean, there
late 30s, late 40s.
Right, and I mean, I think it's okay to be kind of afraid more of uncertainty, not knowing what it's going to be like. But I think a lot of people struggle with like, oh, well, I'm not ready because, we're not financially prepared or whatever. And it's like, I can see why you would say that, but it's like, you're never ready. You're never going to be 100% prepared. That's the whole point of kids is you learn as you go.
Yes.
It's not like someone's just born and say, oh, well,
I know this.
I'm going to be the perfect parent.
I'm ready.
And it's like for us, like, we decided we were ready, and then I lost my job. So like right now, I'm still jobless. So, we're not worried. We trust in God, and if it's His will, He's gonna provide. It might not be a big luxurious life. You have to make sacrifices, but that's what being married and being a parent is all about, right?
Yes, I think people are so afraid of their fertility, of children, and children bring so much joy to a home that is just unbelievable. Like the love that they bring. And I've even heard said that with every child, the love between couples increases with each child. So I'm just thinking about people that have 15 children. So where can people learn about how to do NFP? Do you have any suggestions on where to direct people?
Yeah, I think for us, what I would suggest is like if you're part of a church, that's the first place to go. Ask your pastor or whatever and see, go to the office, see if there's somebody that's already offering those classes there in the parish. But if you're not necessarily part of a church community, or if your church doesn't offer it, they might be able to point you to like the diocese, or what we did is there's an organization called the Couples to Couples League International. Mm-hmm. So it's ccli.org, and they have like a search where you can find classes near you.
Yes, you can find them.
Like online classes now, I think. Mm-hmm. So it's not really hard to find. You can if you look for it, you're gonna find it.
Well, a lot of the couples that are weekends, they're like, well, he works on Saturdays and I work Sunday night. So they're like, that's not an excuse. Go online and you can do
online courses. Yes, I will link below.
Same as to the instructor because it's face to face, but it's possible. You could find the information out there, but just make sure that it's the actual NFP class, because sometimes there's these online classes that is not the correct stuff. So you just want to make sure that it's the correct material.
And it goes back to what we're talking about. You want to make sure you're doing it right. If you're not ready for those kids, then you want to really make sure you learn it the right way. And that's why,
do it the right way.
We read the book and everything before we took the class, but it's not the same as when you go and you talk to somebody who actually
you feel more confident. Yes.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
And for those looking for a book, I recommend this one. This is the one that I first read. It's called Love and Fertility by Mercedes Arsu Wilson. And it brings the actual chart, and it brings like the little stickers to put on the chart. And it's a really good book. So for those of you who choose not to do the class, you can do the book. It's a great way to learn about your body, even if you're not wanting to prevent pregnancy. Just to learn about your body, to learn how your body works, is such a great thing. So, Joanna and Ricky, can you tell us about some of your work and your ministries, and a little bit of where people could reach you, a little bit of what you talk about in your YouTube channel as well?
Wow, where do we start?
A lot, right?
I guess the most recent thing that we started doing is it's called The Jones Life. So we have a website, which is thejones.life.
Yes.
And obviously the videos that we post there are on YouTube. So you can find us on YouTube or on Facebook as well. And basically what we do there is we kind of started off, we just started this year in January. But basically what we started was people are always asking us, all these questions about where did you find out how to do this? Or, that looks so fun, that thing that you posted,
And these are people that live in California for years, and we've only been here 10 years. I'm like, how do you guys not know that place, So that's where the whole concept now. I'm like, we need to tell these people out there that there's fun cheap, free and expensive places to take the kids, or we're very family oriented, and we love to keep the boys. We have 2 boys, 5 and 1 that's going to be 4. So we love to keep them busy. So we're like, we need to give information to people out there,
And we wanted something that we could do together as a family, because, I have some other projects that I was working on, like just me, but I wanted to be able to do something with the family.
Yes.
So that's how that started. But it's kind of has morphed a little bit from just kind of stuff that we will go do and like a day in the life to more now, like we do on every Thursday, we do a live show on Facebook. It's called Live with the Joneses. And that's more geared towards like talking about topics related to marriage, family, homeschooling, parenting. So we kind of have got on a different track now, and we're more into that. And it's something that we've seen that there's a need for it.
Yes, there is.
A lot of couples will come to us and they'll be like, yeah, we see that this, and they're asking us questions. So we said, why not, provide those answers in a way that more people can benefit from it. That's what we do through the Jones Life. We have I have been, since I came into the church, like I mentioned, I'm a convert. I was not raised a Christian, but I've been a Catholic now for 8 or 9 years. 8 years. And so basically since I came into the church, I started writing about basically my faith and what I was learning and things like that. So I have a blog at leadersthatfollow.com. I've written a couple books the past couple of years. So that's where all that stuff is at. And basically just trying to help people learn more about their faith so that they can live their faith. Because it's not something that we just know up here. It's something that we have to put into practice, right? And so that's another project that we have, leadersthatfollow.com. And then 2 years ago, we started another project, which is a nonprofit organization, and it's called the Rock Association. And that is basically a call that we both had, and it was something that we knew God was calling us to, because I never had like this. I'm half black, so my dad is African American, but I never really had like a strong call to be like, man, I want to help people in Africa or anything. I didn't feel like that's like my people or anything. And so when we both had this kind of call to start this project helping in Africa, I knew it had to be God. And then what was your experience?
Since very young, I've always been like I mentioned, I'm 3.5 months pregnant, but right now I'm just kind of like relaxing, with a pregnancy, but I'm not the type of person that I like to be up, I like to help people. People come to my house and they're like, Joanna, just sit down, I'm person. I love to give, to the community, to people, family, friends. And so I've always had that calling to help Africa. For some reason, it's very young. I'm it's always in my heart, we need to do something with, I want to be either go to Africa and just help the kids and so forth, so forth. So then that day we were walking with the boys, and we're a homeschool family. So I started very young, just doing, arts and crafts here and there. So that day we went for a walk and just, got some rocks, and we were going to paint some rocks. So the boys painted some rocks. I was in the living room, and I'm staring at this rock for like 20 minutes. I'm like, why am I staring at this rock? It's all crazy colors, the boys, they were like probably two and 3. But I'm like really staring at this rock, and I was just like, what's going on? And so my heart started, beating really fast. I was like, okay, Lord, I know you're doing something here. I don't know what you're doing, but there's something going on with this rock, He comes in and he tells me he was working at that time. He's like, oh, I have something to tell you. I just met this priest from Africa, and his name is Father Sweet. And we're like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I was just looking at the rock. I'm like, I think we need to do something. I think we need to help him. And he's telling me this whole story about he's the only priest in Tanzania. And there's they call them outstation. So they're like little, churches, communities, but there's no buildings. They just literally gather with grass and they hear mass, but he only goes to them like once every 2 months.
So he's got his main church, but then he's responsible for these 10 other villages he's got to go to.
And they're far.
Yeah, and so
so he's telling me this story, and I'm just like, looking at him. I was like, we need to do something. I'm staring at this rock for a reason. You're coming in. You're talking this. So I was like, I think God wants us to do something. And Peter, the verse Peter came, is like, on this rock you will build my church.
Yes.
I'm like, I need to help them build, we need to do something, build churches or something, and so that's how it all started. And it's funny, the story, how he met the priest. He thought Ricky was a priest, through the blog. Like, hi, Father Ricky. He's like, oh, no, I'm a father, but I'm not a priest, And so Father Sweet didn't even have Ricky, Ricky's blog.
He wasn't even subscribed. He said he just got the email.
He just had an email with his. So we knew that God was working in there, and he was calling us to do this. And so we started.
So we started
So we call it the Rock Association.
So that foundation helps to raise money to build a church there? Is that what it does?
Well, so what we're doing is, right now, the first project that we're working on is to build a convent.
Oh, to build a convent, okay.
Some religious sisters are going to come and help him to be able to evangelize and teach, the people in these places that, he's one guy, he can't be in 10 different places at once. So they're going to come.
He does mass, but these people are so poor that they don't even know how to read. They don't even have Bibles because they can't even read. So these nuns are willing to help Father Sweet to evangelize and, help these people, to catechize them, basically. And so we figured, why not do a comment for these nuns to help them, because that would be big help. So we're in the process of that right now. That's our first campaign.
We're about halfway through. The goal was $35,000. But the construction has already started. Right now we're trying to raise the rest of the money to put the roof on it. But you can find out more at therockassociation.org.
And I will link all of this below in the description box. And I invite you to take a look at all of the work that they're doing. Go take a look at their YouTube channel. I absolutely love their chats. They have so many great chats for family. You guys talk about family, faith. What else do you guys talk about on the channel?
Did a video on NFP.
You have so much on there. I love other videos, so I'll link it below so that you guys can go on over there, subscribe, and keep watching them. They have a live show every week that you guys can keep learning about this wonderful family. I absolutely love what they're doing. Thank you so much for coming to talk with me about natural family planning and for spreading the message. I hope more and more couples choose natural family planning over the hormonal birth control. They're going to see such a great blessing upon their lives and upon their families. Again, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you, Joanna. Thank you, Ricky, for coming along. And I hope maybe to talk to you guys in the future. Maybe we can have another chat about something else. Thanks again.
Thank you so much for your time as well.
Thank you. Until the next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.